All right, man. This is episode 14. Don't forget to stream us on Spotify and iTunes. You can simply just like WhatsApp your friends right now. Let them know the Homeland Daily is on. But if they miss it, Spotify, iTunes, and of course, YouTube is the place to go right after. Now, without further delay, let's introduce the talents of this show. Filmmaker and a lady of so many different talents, hidden talents, I like to call them. Liz Charles is here. What up, Liz?
Hey, y'all.
Also representing West Bay, Youngin. That's what we call him on the shows. He's he's our TikTok expert and a talented singer at that. Give it up for Rico Rolando.
Thank you, guys.
Hey, man. My name is Dane, of course, man. I'm just Dane. I love media. I love all things like just talking my whole mouthpiece off. So thank you for joining the show. Guys, how was your day? It seemed like it was busy.
Do you remember when Dane's backyard existed?
Oh my goodness.
Oh,
I
that
just
was
had to figure it out for a second.
That was a crazy show. You
You're
know
not
what?
just Dane. You're Dane of Dane's backyard.
Dane's backyard was the time that I thought that I had something, and then when you kind of listen back to it, you're like, "Whoa!" Like I can't believe
You
I
had something.
I survived that.
I was a listener.
Thank you, Liz. I appreciate you. That's why I appreciate you over Rico.
Yeah, I was in middle school then, so I'm not too sure.
Rico Rolando, man. Guys, listen, man. I'm gonna jump into this gossip. I actually wrote it down today. I'm gonna start off with one because I'm gonna be a little bit biased. And I just found the news out, and plus me and Rico had a conversation about it. But let's just give a round of applause to the undefeated champion of the world, Kanye West, officially a billionaire. It's just like literally this man, like Forbes didn't even know that this man was a billionaire. He had to text, according to Rico, this man had to text Forbes magazine and say, hey, by the way, let me make you allow you to finish writing your list, but I am a billionaire officially. So give it up for Kanye West, man. What do you guys think about that?
1.3 billion is amazing to have, obviously, but Kanye West is like, he's always tried to be like the first one to do everything. So being a black rapper, like he always wanted to be the Jay-Z, the Dr. Dre, and now he's a part of that league. So I think that's something that he always strived for, is to become a billionaire and be like super influential. So congrats to him.
What about you, Liz? Can Liz hear us? Or she can. She's not saying anything about Kanye. Listen, Kanye's a Christian now. He has changed his life around, Liz. He's become a better man. And he's a dad. He's taking care of his wife. He's on a different movement. So whatever he did in the past, Liz, you got to let that go. He's officially a billionaire now. I think we got to give him some props for that.
Okay, so Kanye West is a billionaire now. Why is Kanye a billionaire now? Probably mostly because of Yeezys, right?
Yes.
And his Yeezy empire is his way of saying that Black people shouldn't give back to other companies. They should instead embrace consumer culture and spend money that they don't have on his property.
But you know what? I agree with you until I find I really did the maths on this. Like Kanye, and hear me out. I don't want to stay long on Kanye, right? But I know a lot of people
love you some Kanye. So
I do. I'm his biggest protector, man, between him and Jay-Z. But the thing is, I think a lot of people get mad at Kanye because they actually think that Kanye is responsible for all these rip-off prices that he's been selling to the consumers. But at the end of the day, I think he's selling the shoes at normal price, and it's the consumers that are taking these shoes and reselling them back for high prices.
No, absolutely not. Are you?
Yes.
$900, $1,000 Yeezys, and it's our fault as a consumer to
because
say
the next consumer is selling it at $1,000. Kanye is selling it. He's retailing it at the right price because he's releasing it to Adidas, so he can't release it at $1,000. He's actually releasing it at like 100 and something. Like when I first got my Yeezys, I was lucky. I got it like $150. Then that same Yeezy resold from somebody else for $1,000. Now that person should be blamed for that, not Yeezy.
So Kanye has been known for selling his products, whether it be a white t-shirt or something else, at ridiculous prices because, as he has noted, his products are luxury items. And as such, luxury items are priced at luxury price ranges. These are, very much not disposable income ranges, right? So that's a part of Kanye's brand. Again, he, however, is aiming these luxury items to the Black consumer who he says has been unwise. We could take it back to his first album, right? In his lyrics discussing the fact that people will spend money on things that they shouldn't be spending money on when they don't have a house in their name, when they're still beholden to a system financially that's bringing them down. They are spending money on luxury goods because that's what we need to do in order to feel some kind of way. So Dane, don't get me wrong. I actually think that Kanye's in my top 5 as a lyricist. Okay, like for sure he's in my top 5. But if we're going to be discussing, Kanye being a billionaire and the fact that Kanye had to text up Forbes to let them know he's a billionaire, who was the last person who we know contacted Forbes directly, publicly?
We don't even know that though.
That we publicly know this person as a fact called up Forbes and told them that he was a billionaire. Who is it?
They're always picking on Kanye.
But who is the person? It's Trump.
I don't know.
The person who we know who also did that.
Oh yeah, that's right. And Taylor Swift.
So I ain't got no time for Tay-Tay. When it comes to Tay-Tay versus Kanye, I take Kanye any day. That's not my point. My thing is, listen, I think it's great to have another Black person who's represented as someone who is financially secure. But then at the same time, we'll have next week Kanye tweeting out Mark Zuckerberg, like, I need money for this. I need money for that. I need you to invest in me for this. Mm-hmm. So 1, I never trust the Forbes list. 2, Kanye talking about himself being a billionaire is, I think, playing into Kanye's issues, his mental health issues, which I think are a whole different story. And having said all of that, it is a Black-owned brand, and I will stop.
Let's support it, man. Let's support it. All right.
But don't spend money that you don't have.
I agree. If you don't have it, don't spend it. That's why I'm getting ready for the next.
But then why do people spend it? And Kanye knows his type of demographic that's going after those shoes are low income people who are working just day to day just to have that swag or that flex to say that he has Yeezys on. Why not make it a different price range for people who actually are supporting you every single step of the way?
I think, guys, look. I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna be very. I know you guys are getting ready to not agree with me, but why can't we give like the same support that we're gonna give to Apple? Because we all have an Apple device right now, all over the place, and we're spending all this money for a white man's product, but we can't spend it for Black man's product. Like, you're drinking a tea, Liz. Why are you drinking a tea on this one?
I'm sorry. Did I not yesterday or the day before complain about Apple prices and say that they were gouging people and that it was exploitative, that they were bringing down their SE prices?
I agree. We always complain about how high Apple prices is, but we still buy it. Like every time it comes out, we're like, yeah, I'm gonna buy that new AirPod.
Who says they still buy it?
I mean,
this is an 8.
Okay.
This is an 8.
No, it's only because a couple of shows ago I saw you with the brand new AirPod
I keep
Pro.
it for 5 years.
All right, we're gonna get off of Kanye. Moving on, Jennifer Lopez and Alex Rodriguez wedding is officially on pause, guys. Now we know that this was coming because of the situation between Puff Daddy.
Nah, bro.
No, I'm just joking. They put the wedding on pause because of COVID-19. I wish it was because of Diddy, because somebody needs to learn a lesson. But they were supposed to get married in Italy, guys. It was rumored that they were supposed to go to Italy, but that couldn't happen. We know the situation in Italy right now. God bless them. But unfortunately, a lot of weddings are like this right now. I know a lot of people. I was supposed to attend some weddings this year, and I know that's called off. That's not going to happen. So, and it's just so unfortunate because this is what J-Lo's 100th wedding.
I think
Please leave Jennifer alone. It is only like her 5th wedding.
All right, Red. Whatever you guys say.
I know you and your feelings about this Diddy A-Rod. Man. You saw it and got happy, didn't you?
It was disrespectful. Like I could not date somebody that calls their ex up in front of me and be like, "Yo, by the way, Dane loves all your songs." I'm like, "Shut up! Don't talk about
security, Dane. Security."
All right, man. Last but definitely not least in the entertainment report, I call this a little bit of I don't know what to refer. I can't say it's good and bad news. I guess we'll discuss it later on in the show. at some point, but it just came in earlier that our very own Makiva Bush was charged with common assault, disorderly conduct today officially. Now, listen, this one is one that's a very sensitive subject. So we will definitely at some point discuss it. But I think we all know where we stand on this topic. Each of us, I think, have different opinions on it, but it's still equally the same because we know that the context of what was done was wrong. But I think all of us also have some type of emotional relationship with the speaker at some point. I think his former too. Is he been taken down or taken off of the list as of yet, or I'm not even sure.
Yeah, so I think it's Eden right now, who's actually the Speaker of the House right now. I think he's the politician from Easton.
Yeah, because he took a break, correct? Is that right, Rico?
Allegedly. I mean, I can't really say what happened, but I think he did, yeah.
Yeah, Liz is just like still face, like she ain't saying nothing on this one.
What do you think, Liz? I want to hear what Liz has to say.
What do I think about Makiva being charged?
Yeah, I mean, we're not gonna do that. We're not gonna touch this.
Much appreciated.
We're gonna bring in our guest right now. Y'all give it up for Charles the Whittaker. I call him the Charles the Whittaker, the killer. Yeah, man. This guy back in the days used to throw some punch that makes you believe he was gonna knock that person out for life. Give it up for Charles the Whittaker, man. Charles, how you doing?
I'm good, brother. How you doing?
We're doing good, man. It's a blessing to have you on the show. Thank you so much for taking the time. And first of all, speaking to our demographic, our young people, and all people alike here in Cayman Islands and around the world, we appreciate you.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it.
All right, man.
So, Charles, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? We know you as a boxer, but also as someone who's been so deeply involved in the community. I'd love to hear you talk about just your relationship to being vocal about community issues and being somewhat of an activist in the community in terms of making your voice be heard, and why that's so important to you.
Well, it's important because your tomorrow is tied to mine. Everybody who lives here, our tomorrows are tied together, you know. A lot of people, I think, in this society miss that fact. You know, some people think that they're going to legislate the Cayman that they want, and rather than the Cayman that we need. And it's not going to work that way, you know, by virtue of those you leave behind. You know, it's not going to work that way, you know. So I believe that we all need to be involved. You know, I think we all need to be involved. Everybody, we need to be a people who speak up more. You know, a people who question more, a people who advocate more for one another. You know, I say this. Like I say everything without fear or trying to get along to go along. I'm not with that policy. Is that we Caymanians, we need to come together as the people. We need to realize that in our individuality alone, we won't get there. We need to come together and begin to support one another and be there for each other. Everybody, other people come to this country, they're united, and they are united against number one, and that those of us of the indigenous population. Don't get it twisted, they are, you know, and then of course, for some people too, once they become Caymanians, like yesterday, I was talking to a relative of mine. And my cousin, he was telling me that he knew of someone who worked, you know, where he worked at. And, you know, the person really wanted to get his Cayman papers and become a Caymanian. When he did, he was so happy. And he moved on and he was going to apply for a different job. And he said he put that he was Caymanian. And he was white too. But he was no longer employable. He had to go back to being English. And then he was able to gain employment. These are real issues that we have in this country. And the question shouldn't, some people question, why am I so vocal? The question should never be, why am I so vocal? The question should be, why so many of our people choose not to be. That should be the question.
Most definitely. And what do you think, like, because throughout the Caribbean, in your own country, you're always supported, whether you're Jamaican, all the Jamaicans will sort of support you in whatever movement you're trying to do, whether, you're a boxer or you're an artist or any type of form of art. Why do you think us as Caymanians can't really get to the next level of supporting each other on anything that we're doing?
Well, here you go. It's ignorance. It's ignorance, lack of enlightenment, self-hate. That's what it is. Ignorance and self-hate. Most of Caymanian people don't want to see somebody that they know succeed. Somebody that looks like you. They don't mind if they'll complain about foreigners coming here and succeeding, as long as most of them, they don't look like them. It's okay. If the Merins or the Fosters, the Colonels, they succeed, well, they have the right complexion, they should succeed. But as long as one of our own one that looks like us. See, I know all too well about it, brother. I've lived this place, and I look at with our young people, in particular youth. So that's who really I want to talk, because we look at with our youth. I like that question he asked. It gives me a chance to jump into that. We look at these young people riding their motorcycles. People are up in arms about them riding their motorcycles, and I understand the danger of it on the road, the risks. But here's the reality. These young people, motocross is a sport. It's a big sport. We're no longer living in times when we are disconnected from the world. Here I am in my house. You where you? I don't know if you guys are at home or where you at, but here we are connecting. I could have been at my house in Florida. I mean, we're spending, but I could have been at my house in Florida. We still could have connected. Technology has changed. The world has changed. Our young people are living in more exposed time. They're dreaming. They're aspiring. But what remains the norm in this country is that the hopes and dreams of our youths are still being stuffed out, still being criticized, still being ridiculed. I don't ridicule those young men. I say it's an indictment upon us for how long we've been talking about that, about the issue with the young people riding their motorcycles, that the government, people in this society, Caymanians with the means, and these companies that are here with these people who have come here and have made it very rich, made it better than they could have made it in the countries that they left from and came here. Because don't get it twisted, nobody came here because it was better where they were at. They all came here and stayed here because they found it better here. Most of them don't contribute anything back, and particularly when it comes to our youth. But then again, what do we do to contribute? We criticize, we attack, anything to do with one of our own. And until we learn to value our young people, value each other people not gonna value us. But I promise you that if these young people riding these motorcycles, and the reason I'm bringing that up, right, because I see them as game changers.
Yeah,
I see them. We are in a. Do you know how many young Caymanians that have been in my lifetime that I know have been pushed out of their hopes and dreams, told that was impossible. You can't do that. How many have been talked out of their desires, their dreams, and their hopes by their parents, by this society? Well, had I listened, I would have never made it. I can remember when I first started boxing, the people used to call the radio and say the government should ban boxing. We don't need that in our society. That is too violent. That is this and that is that.
Yeah.
You know, I heard all those things. We still get people talking about, well, this not you young people. You know, everything for us that has to do with us comes under attack. And the first line of attack it comes on is always by our own people. So we have to
Yes.
change. So that's why I'm involved. That's why I speak up.
Yeah, it is, man.
It's it's never about myself, you know, because I understand that my concern for myself will get me no further than myself. But in order to build a great society, we must uplift our people. You can't move your society. You're not moving society forward, leaving a generation behind. And generations of Caymanians have been left behind. We heard the now premier said some time ago, in his last 10 years premier, some people are going to be left behind, and that's just the way it is. Think about it. Just the way it is. From the abundance of the heart, the mouth speak it. Just the view in the heart. A man tells you what he thinks, how he feels in his heart by how he speaks.
Now, Charles, since you're on that with the premiere, that was actually my next question, because, you know, this has been a different time for everybody with COVID-19 being around, and this has affected like the whole entire world. But I noticed here in the Cayman Islands, a lot of people have sang praises to our government, and I don't see that same remarks coming from you on social media. Why is that? Like, what do you believe that the government can be doing differently?
Here's where we at, right? You know, I said we look at history. We look at history. We look at when issues affect you and me, when issues affect our people, what did they do then? When it only affected us. Okay? When it affected Caymanians, what did they do then? See, people, that's the problem. Our people are so short-sighted. I'm not judging. I'm looking at history. And if you want to talk about what could be done now, we look at gas prices. People aren't working, and we're not sure when that might return. People might be able to go back to work. When we look at gas prices, just yesterday I was reading online yesterday morning that in California there were 36 tankers. Some of them had been out there for weeks with enough crude oil, with enough fuel to run 20 for the capacity of 20% of the world daily needs. In California, ships were out there with it, no place to offload it because the demand had fallen so low. Why hasn't the price dropped here? Fuel affects everything, you know. We look in the supermarkets. Have we seen them do anything to get the cost of goods in a time when people aren't working, in a time when today we had a little optimism from the premier, but in a time when most days we don't hear any optimism from them. It might be like this till next year. We don't know when it's going to return to normal. Ever stop to think that pretty soon, even if we see people are getting their money from their pension, most people, I bet ain't going to be getting a fortune if this runs into a year from now. They ain't going to be getting enough to keep them going, not with the cost of living in the country. So, as I said, I judge over the long haul, and I don't forget.
So
I don't
I
show up.
love that you've talked about the gas prices, because that is something that I actually very much agree with you on. I think we saw on a global scale oil prices rise for quite some time after the financial crisis in particular. And then around 2013 or so, then they began to fall again after really the public in different governments people started to respond to the public demand that gas prices be lowered. And so they were lowered in the US and in other places that we would ship our oil from. And we did not see that in Cayman. Prices stayed up at, $5 and more. But that's somewhat the responsibility of the people to make it be known and to kind of demand that prices be lowered. So my question to you is, because you're someone who's, made demands of the government, whether it be in terms of supporting professional athletes like yourself when you were boxing and saying, there's value to supporting your professional athletes. My question is actually a little bit along the lines of, do you feel maybe, just maybe, that as a boxer, right, as someone who's respected physically, that it is a little bit more empowering when you say something as opposed to average Joe who may not be able to defend themselves in the same way? I mean, I'm thinking about the comment you made when Wendy's dad, Mike Adams, when the stuff was going on with their driveway being blocked, and you were urging people to, the police needs to fix the situation, and if it doesn't get fixed, then things could get violent and that kind of thing. But in the event that anything like that happened, you could protect yourself. So my question to you is, do you believe that your physical acumen as a boxer and as someone who has that power informs the way that you vocalize the things that you believe?
I think here's the thing. I am the way I am because my father was heavily involved. My grandfather, my family, Gorin Avenue. That's my family. Okay, they were all politicians. My great grandfather was elected in this country from 1911 until his death, 1937. He was brought here from Barbados as a school teacher. He was a lawyer and a school teacher. He became a politician when he got here. So I think it's from growing up, I was hearing my father talk about being involved and the concern for social issues. Now, listen, about defending oneself, or it's common sense. At some point in time, if things are not addressed, things escalate. There's one. I want to go back to the young people again. I'll talk about the motorcycles. You see them, despite all the talks, all the criticism they get, you still see them ride their motorcycles. And that is because, as I referred to them earlier, those are game changers. They are not the generation of yesterday and some of my generation. They are not accepting no. And that's what I said. You're not going to legislate the Cayman you want rather than over the Cayman we need. The Cayman you want is going to fail because by virtue of those you leave behind, they're not going to sit quietly. If I ask you how many of you want to go to heaven, you guys want to go to heaven?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Y'all want to go to heaven, right? How many of you want to die?
I mean, nobody really wants to take that, but I mean, I'm okay with it if it happens, but I just don't want to. I don't want to leave my family now, but I'm in a position that if it happens, it happens.
Yeah, well, guess what? If it happens, then you can do it. But what I'm saying is, if we had to choose, we all want to go to heaven, but we don't want to die.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you can't leave people behind. You can't think that some people are just going to sit there quietly and say, "Well, this is my lot." The neighbor next door has it all. The people down the street has it all, and I'm hungry and I'm struggling, and I'm going to do without. So at some point in time, we got to address these issues, because like that thing with Mike Adams, I don't know what happened with that now, but these types of things, how many incidents, those type of incidents, with people come here, block the road, or you see people along West Bay Road putting little, I call them little poles in the road to stop people from parking. We know why those things are put out there. That's on the Crown property. That's on the public road. Nobody's saying anything, no government official is saying anything about those types of things. But there's something wrong with it. I live in America. I couldn't go and put a sign on the road in front of my house and tell people that they couldn't park. Somebody call the police can make you move it. Or somebody come move it their dog themselves.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's going to go which way pretty soon. If no legal authority deals with these things, people are going to act.
You know, Charles, you know, it's really important.
You know what I mean?
I love everything you're saying. Like, I really respect everything you're saying. The thing is, though, I'm in like this season right now because I have like young kids. So now the island, it's always been important to me. But now when you have kids, like what you said, the new generation, like what is the new generation going to have? I'm in this season where I'm teaching my kids, like, don't just like make a statement. Don't just complain, but like, I need solutions. I need solutions on how we can fix this. Okay, so we lost Charles. So guys, we're gonna wait till he comes back on. But what I wanted to ask Charles, and I want to see if everybody agrees. I mean, we have a few people in the show right now that's asking questions and putting remarks out there. I get what Charles is saying, but my issue is that, and he's back on, so I'm gonna ask him the question. I don't want to just leave him out from the question. Charles, sorry, we lost you there, but I'll ask the question now.
That's all right.
I really want to know what your top issues are, because I hear you and I feel your passion, and I know that you're driven for this island because you have choices, Charles. You can go live in Miami, you can go live in Florida now if you want to. You love this island. So point blank, nobody can say anything to you about that. But I want to know, like, what is our solution? We all know that the price of living here is insane. We know that it's not looking good for Caymanians. We know that there's hardly any land left for our kids. We know that as young people, we're not blind to that. But I just want to know, just like how a few great folks took on the port situation, and there were other situations that were taken on by the government. Like, what are we taking on next? Like, what is the solution? What do we need to fix? Because, you know, at this time, I just don't want to hear anybody say, man, I don't think the government's doing a good job. What do they need to fix? Like, what's the solution? Like, how do we fix something that's really crucial? And I want to hear from you with that. Like, what's your top 3 things that you think the government needs to do a better job at?
Listen, the government needs to do a better job to ensure that our people can do more than exists in this country. They need to do a better job of making sure that the rules and the laws, that they don't have to make more laws. I heard them yesterday in LA. They made another law again, and they were all in there standing in their soapbox like this is the Holy Grail. We got some of the same laws already in the books, not being enforced. You know what I mean? I'll give you an example of what has to change. We remember with the same leadership we have now, we've been talking about it for decades, the legal practitioners bill. The same leadership we have now had the law fraternity draw up the bill, and they handed it to them, and they brought it to the House of Parliament and was going to pass it. And they were going to pass it. Mr. Arden McLean found out about it. He spoke out against it, so they scrapped it. Now, do you think there was anything in that to ensure there was opportunities for our people? You see, we have to make sure that when we say we're developing up for Caymanians, we must see the truth of that. We can't continue to see only the same set of people. We can't only continue to see the same set of people who were born into riches continue to prosper and say we're developing Caymanians. Those were always the people who had it. We need trade schools. The old middle school ground stands there vacant. That is big enough to be turned into a multi-purpose trade school hall. That is one thing that could be done. Instead of spending $20 million in building a prison, dedicate that money to that. We have to make sure that opportunities, when we say we're developing up for Caymanians, that is true. That the only thing about Caymanian in that is not the word Caymanian, but the reality is there. We find that our people go away, they say you need to have an education. A lot of our people go away, come back, they have a degree. They come back and, oh, well, you're overqualified. Somebody comes from Canada, around the same age as he or she, have the same degree, but they're disqualified enough. How is that? Because no one is addressing those issues. So, but here's one of the major things that has to change. Until we're all involved, remember what I started off saying, until we all get to understand that your tomorrow is linked to my tomorrow and mine linked to yours. Until you want for my son what you want for your son, for my daughter what you want for your daughter. It's only then. It cannot be only two people speaking up. It cannot be only Charles speaking, because like I told you, one individual speaking don't get nothing done.
Mm-hmm.
When we come together in a unit and we stand for something, you know why people get things done in other countries? Because people stand. We keep talking, but we don't stand. The gas prices should go down. They will never go down unless we stand up as a people and take a stand. Until we stop the flow.
Charles, I want to ask you, because I agree with you. You know, you and I are both agreeing on the fact that things change when people speak up about them. But one of the things that you said earlier was that, you know, we know how things are going to get handled now during the situation because we have history. And, you know, you mentioned, you know, your memory is long. So you can look upon the way that things were handled in the past as an indication for how things will get handled. Can you point to things, specific things in the past that you think were mishandled by the government? So not something that, because people didn't speak up, never got done, but where the government did something that was disadvantageous to Caymanians specifically, and that perhaps aided others instead of Caymanians?
Repeat your question again, I'm sorry.
Yeah, can you say anything that you thought that the government has mishandled? Anything specific, like a specific example of something that the government has mishandled in such a way that it was, whatever they did made it so that it was disadvantageous to Caymanians and beneficial to those who weren't Caymanians, where you feel like the government operated in a way that was not in the favor of the Caymanian people? A specific example.
I just told you. I just told you. I just told you. We look at the way things. It's so far as employment in this country. You can't have justice unless people can be gainfully employed. Okay? And our people can't be gainfully employed. You hear a lot of people say Caymanians are lazy. Caymanians are not lazy. People can work here for $6 an hour and send it back home to their country and convert it and work something. A gallon of milk around here costs $6.
So
I just
how
told
do you feel like
we could stay right there.
Specifically, the government's role in that happening? Because private sector could be hiring, you know, who they want to hire, but how do you feel like the government has kind of mishandled that employment issue?
Yeah.
Well, it is the government's job. That's why you have a government, to regulate and to ensure. It is the government's job. You think if we had a government, I'm gonna give you an example. You know, Whittaker the other morning, the show reminded me of this. I remember this when it happened. There used to be down at the Treasure Island. Used to be a guy down there, put a lot of pressure. He didn't like Caymanians, pushed our people around. McKeever Bush personally went down there. He personally went down there and he addressed it. Pretty soon, things changed. That man was gone. You see, we have to have people who are representing the interests of the people. I am specifically addressing and this covers a wide range of areas, because here's what it breaks down. If you know that poverty breeds crime, they go hand in hand. So when people are insufficiently paid, when people are unemployed, underemployed, who is the highest number of unemployed people in this country? The indigenous population. I'll give you an example. The government mishandled something during the last government. But in the 2009 government, the 4 Cayman Alliance deal, McKeever did that deal. He got DART to give $5 million. $5 million. And this $5 million he allocated that to help people who were struggling get back on their feet, get their mortgage payments under control with the banks. The government of the day then, with the same leadership, that government won. And they criticized him for getting DART to give $5 million to help Caymanians keep their homes. Mr. Archer and Mr. Panton then went out and said, government is not in the business of helping people keep their homes. Then they said, when people complain that the banks were...
Did he freeze?
Yep.
Oh, he froze.
I'm having a loss.
I don't know which internet service that is. I won't mention it. All right, so we wait till he gets back on. Hopefully he gets back on soon and it unfreezes there. If not, we'll bring him back in the show. We got like a couple minutes. I think we got like 10 minutes left anyway. Don't forget, for those that are asking the questions, you can go ahead and send it in. We can leave you anonymous also. We'll go ahead and put it up on the screens. Don't worry, we won't call your name. If you want us to put it up on the screen, we go ahead and put it up there. So that way we can see the question between me, Liz, and Rico. We can ask it, but it seems more of just like compliments and just we appreciate everybody that's tuning in. I think personally, like one of those things that what Charles is trying to say is like, I don't remember which government did it in the Caribbean, but they basically passed a law where there was nobody in the country that could hold a top job if they weren't from that country. So if you did not, like you weren't a part of that country, you couldn't hold a top position, like a CEO position, a partner in a firm. You couldn't hold those type of position because I'll be honest with you guys. I'm a double-edged sword when I go into a workforce, and I'm not saying any of the workforce that I currently work with is these individuals. So I'm gonna put that out there and be very straight. Yeah, this is a strong disclaimer because it's not. I'm being honest with folks. Maybe it's past, and I won't name them, but I know I've worked around people, and they are people that were in top positions that were expats from different countries that said, "Yeah, man, I'm not hiring a Caymanian because they didn't know I was Caymanian." They were saying, "I'm not hiring a Caymanian because they don't work past 5." And that was remarks that was actually stated. Now, do I believe that they're lazy Caymanians? Absolutely. I manage lazy Caymanians before. But do I also believe other countries have lazy people? Yes, they do. So it's literally that's just how the world works. There's lazy people and there's people that are extremely ambitious, and that's just how it is. You can't just come to our country, and I'm very strong about this, and say and basically specify that all Caymanians are lazy, and that's what's being done. That's what's being said. So on Charles' point, I do. If that's one of the issues that he really finds like a big concern on this island, absolutely, I would go and march with him on that one because I have my own self seen it. I've seen it with my own 2 eyes. I've heard it with my own 2 ears, and it's disrespectful because me personally, I've been trained. I don't know if this is because of my parents, but I've been trained to respect the culture wherever I go. So I don't go in there and I don't disrespect anybody's culture. And it just seems like it's easily done here for some reason. I don't know how to explain it, but people will come down here and they'll be like, yeah, of course I make tons of money, because you're definitely not leaving your country because, like what Charles said, because your country's better. You're coming here because, one, you're making more money, the life is better, and you can afford the beachside property. Let's just be real. And the management job that you couldn't get in the USA, New York, where the hustle and bustle is, you couldn't get in New York City. So you came here and you got the CEO position, but it would never happen in your country. So that's why you came here for. And I'm just going to be very honest with people. This is me coming from a young person's standpoint, things I've seen with my own 2 eyes. I am ambitious as hell, and nobody have to tell me. I work hard. I do 2 jobs around the clock. All right. And that's just what it is for me. So I don't respect people coming here and criticizing our country but taking from it. That's insulting, and it needs to stop. Like, I don't go to your country and do that. So I mean, I can go on forever, guys, but I'll give you guys like the floor on this one.
Yeah, go ahead, Liz.
Oh, okay, sure. I mean, I think for me, I've got a couple different thoughts. One, it seems to me, based on just listening to Charles, that a lot of his issue is more so with the inaction of the government, more than with necessarily actively negative things that the government's doing. And I definitely think that, government inaction is an issue. But I also think that we get the government, we get this. There's a quote that is, you get the leaders who you deserve. So unless we expect more from the government, we will get in really practical ways in making our voices be heard, then that's the best we're going to get. Having said that, I think we have to be really careful about pathologizing entire groups of people, right? So because Cayman, to begin with, like, knowing that Cayman history is that of immigrants, that of people coming to the country from other places, in the same way that it is with many other countries. I just think we have to be very, while we are protecting, while protecting Caymanians, I think we can do so in a way without pathologizing all expats at the same time.
Absolutely.
But I do agree that you can't have a situation where expats are pathologizing Caymanians either, right? And there has to be a way for us to find some ground where humanity is allowed.
Yeah.
That's
well, I think honestly, it's like in Cayman, it's all about who you know. In most of those top tier positions are, let's be real, it's mostly non-Caymanian people, and
Yes.
they already have whoever in Florida or Canada or wherever they're from. They already have that fact as, okay, I'm going to hire this person. I'm going to do a bunch of these interviews with Caymanians, and I know for a fact I'm going to say you're not for this role because AABBB, when in fact the same role is given to the person that's coming from Cayman. So I think a lot of the higher positions in Cayman do need to change in order for things to go well for younger Caymanians, because at the end of the day, even like if you're coming from private school and public school, the private school kid in Cayman will get the job way faster than any public school kid in Cayman. And I think it's just to do with the links and who you know and what's really happening in the background. And I think that all has to really stop, because it should be coming from what your resume says. If you're good for this job, it should be coming from your resume, not because your last name is non-Ebanks or non-Bush or non-Bawden. It's just coming back to those same things. It's because you see a Caymanian name, you're going to automatically think, okay, well, I had one bad experience with a Caymanian and they were lazy, so I'm going to categorize all Caymanians as lazy. And that's not the point.
There it is.
There is a problem, Rico. We like, facts is facts. There is an issue, like, just statistically, of there not being enough Caymanians at the top of a lot of the private firms. So when we're looking at Cayman being a financial center with tons of accounting firms, with tons of legal firms and those sorts of things, when you start to look at the partner rung, and that is an issue. It's also an issue for women. It's also an issue for people of color in general. All of those things are issues that are problematic, that need to be addressed. That's just a fact.
For sure. But I think if you're from your country, you should be first priority. No matter.
Yes.
I agree with you.
Yes.
100%.
And not just to say you did it, not to say you interviewed the individual. If you know that their resume is strong, if you know that that's what an interview is. You're looking at the potential of the success of that person within the organization. The potential. You don't know that individual.
With unconscious bias, because that's what's going to, that's what's going to make someone think about whether someone has the potential or not.
Yeah.
Right? Because they could look at the exact same resume, think of one of them as a Caymanian person, or think of one of them as a British person, and it may go one way or the other, and it might be the exact same resume. I mean, that's just how bias works. And so there has to be, I think part of the issue is political and regulatory, but part of it is just social.
It
Yeah.
is, man. But at the same time, let's say something that's important. You know, the respect has to be due from both parties. But there's a lot of stuff that needs to stop. Like I said, guys, we can be honest for like the whole entire
Yeah.
night, and this will never end. And there's a lot of
Yeah.
people that can speak on things like this, and it kind of needs to stop. If COVID is going to change one thing, I hope it changes that, because it frustrates me. If anybody knows me, this is the one thing I talk about all the time. So I'm glad that Charles bring it up, because it makes me know that this is a common problem. This is a huge problem. We need to do something about it. It's just wrong, because one of the things that made me call off sick off of work one day, because I was like, sick, when I heard that there was an individual in a workplace that was telling all the expats that come down, you're going to love this island. It's beautiful. You're going to make a lot of money. It's going to be definitely better experience than where you're coming from. But don't make friends with Caymanians. They'll only tear you down and drag you down. And man, that upset me to the point that I did not go to work the next day, because I heard that from someone that was telling someone that. And it was in the same cubicle. I was sitting in the same area when they were telling the person that. And he didn't say some Caymanians, or don't talk to that one over there. It's like, no, don't talk to any Caymanians, because they will drag you down and you won't go anywhere if you are attached to a Caymanian. Like, come on. So hang on. So these are the people that we're ticking off at the immigration line? Like, we're saying okay to this? This is good. So it's a problem, right? But we all know what the common goal is here, guys, right? We're in a global pandemic situation here. We know what the real issue is. We know what we're facing here. We do want to cut the government some slack. They are doing a really good job, but there is going to come a time when we have to once again, because we are the people. We employ the government, so we're going to have to hold them accountable at some point. Are they doing a good job in this circumstance? Hell yeah. There's the things that are going to have to be changed, and we haven't forgotten about. Please remember, the Homeland Daily is going to be on right after COVID-19, and we're going to be challenging things like this. We are an entertainment platform podcast, and we do bring on creative people, but at the same time, we'd be ignorant if we never spoke up about our country too, and spoke about our rights to live in this country and to protect it, right?
And I also want to touch on that as well, as there's some things that are going on, especially within the immigration sector, where or not particular with immigration, but people who are applying for citizenship in Cayman. We all know you have to have a certain you have to have a house that's valued at, or land that's valued at a certain amount of criteria, where the people that are inside of these bank positions that are unfortunately telling the Caymanians that they have to leave their home because of non-payment are also giving their friends the house that the Caymanian was living in, just so that their value could be more. And it's just different things inside the banking industry that we have to change as well too, because a lot of Caymanians are getting evicted from their own homes, and that's sad to me that a foreigner can come to Cayman, get citizenship, knowing the background of what happened throughout.
Yeah, I think something was up with Rico's mic, but I kind of heard him well enough. But guys, thank you so much. We appreciate you. For everybody that was on tonight, people that comment, for people that said they really appreciate and love this show, we appreciate you, because you make this show possible. So thank you so much for staying tuned. Don't forget, Homeland Daily is Monday to Friday at 7:15. We'd love you to be a part of the show. Don't forget, you can simply just email us and message us on our Instagram page. It's very simple, Homeland Daily. Search us on Instagram. We're going to have the Facebook coming next week, guys, so you can message us on that platform. And we'd love to hear from you. If you're someone that wants to be interviewed on this show, please send us a message, especially if you have a burning desire about your arts, your creativity, whatever it is. We want to hear from you. We're pushing the culture forward. Guys, any last minute advice from each of you?
Yeah, I think my last thought, in line with Charles, is actually, and in line with Gandhi, be the change you want to see. No, but really and truly, if you want to see progress, then it's going to take community activism, and that literally includes each person using their voice. And let's use our voices to be really clear about what we want, not attack anyone specifically, but definitely use your voice to attack the issue specifically, and let your action follow through as well.
Yes. Most definitely. I think I would just jump on that same thing that Liz said. It's all about really supporting one another and being vocal about it, not just over social media. And then once we're doing the whole parade and the whole protesting, it's only 3 people out there, it's not gonna ever work. And for your voice to be heard, you have to really unite as one and really push the boundaries of what you really want.
Yeah, it is, man. Also, you know, my last statement is something I always say to my kids, man. A smart person learn from his own mistakes, and a wise person learn from the mistakes of other people. Don't be like your parents. Don't be like your friends. And not saying anything bad about your parents, but they had mistakes. They made mistakes. Speak up. Be vocal. Believe in what you believe in, and stick with it, right? And don't make any apologies for it, especially when it belongs to you and this is your country. All right. So, and if you're around the world, do the same for your country, man. This is all about pushing the culture forward. So if you're listening worldwide, implement the same change, plant that seed, watch it grow. And yeah, but we really do appreciate every single person that was tuning in. We'll be back on Monday at 7:15 with a special guest, and we're going to be talking being happy in your singleness in 2020. I'm laughing because there's only 2 people that sing.
I did not say anything. Thank you guys for tuning in.
All right, man, guys. Have a good one. We appreciate you. Happy Friday.